so we can have this Valentine's Day event and actually talk about the projects.
Man, doing the search.
I mean, they can be tweaked. There's nothing set in stone. I'm not asking for votes on any of it tonight, just like blessing and move forward. Mike laid it out on the map and has a picture of the actual park.
Cause I'm not even going to that.
Okay, let's see how late this lasts. No.
Not too deep. Sunshine, still pretty chilly, but it's gonna be warmer today.
I mean, that's what we're do. Help each other out.
The what?
I'll do it in the right mood that night in your spirit.
There you go.
Without family.
It doesn't matter. I mean, they've already approved
Got you
that.
blocked in there. Art.
I'm just gonna go through all
Okay.
projects that we're going to.
Oh, that we're looking at? Okay. No, this isn't about the parking lot. This is about the Harmony Park thing. Behind the,
At the regular council meeting?
Yes.
That's,
yes, yeah.
You ready? Everybody?
I'll stick around.
Right.
I call this special city council meeting, January 27th, 2005 to order. Please rise and say the pledge of allegiance and remain standing as we say our opening prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we come before you today and ask for your wisdom and guidance as we go about the planning for the future year in the city of Olney. We ask for your protection upon all of its workers and citizens. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Ikorst,
Present.
Councilman Iyer,
Present.
Councilwoman Fehrenbacher,
Present.
Councilman McLaughlin, Mayor Lambert.
Here, first item on the agenda is public comments and presentations. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we will move on to the work session prioritizing projects for the upcoming year. And we will begin with Jane.
Okay, do you want to go through, you and Morgan both submitted something, you just wanna go through that? or
That's up to
start with the
everybody. It doesn't really
supervisor?
matter to me. We can talk about it now or later.
I'd rather do it later. Let's listen to what they had first. If that's okay with you, Mayor?
That's fine.
Okay, so the first page of your packet is just a summary. It's got the actuals for years 22-23 in the first column, actuals for 23-24 in the second column, our budget for 24-25, what we spent through December 31st of 24, what we're projecting to spend through April 30th of 25 to give us our full year projection for 24-25, and then the next 5 years, or the plan. We'll look at all of the plan, but concentrate more on the budget for this coming year. I won't go through those because each individual supervisor can go through their own part. If you look down at the bottom of that page, it gives some reserve balances of some of the accounts that we have set aside money for and for different things. Have any questions on any of those? It gives the balance as of the end of December and what we've committed for a lot of those accounts. Okay, the next page, this one is just a summary of the city hall people. It starts out with Department 20, and that's Alan's department. So, Alan, do you want to go through your stuff that you added in there?
If I can find it.
On page 2.
Okay, the server is, that's for the ladies up front, the computer that replaced the server that we have in the police department.
Yeah, it's for the police and city hall people both.
Yep.
That will be spent yet this year.
I recommended putting some money in there for a school car. The one we have is, I think it's 2016 or 17. Do you know, Justin? What?
16.
What is it, sir?
16.
Getting some age on it. I think we can upgrade for around $20,000 and talking to Dan Eagleson. Thought it'd be worth looking at anyway. buy a new one or a used, which the one we have now was used when we bought it, so. Anyway, that's what that 20,000 is for. Contingencies, we've historically put $50,000 in the budget, for contingencies used, more or less, but all the departments, if they need some extra money, we can take it out of contingency, with council's approval. The Saddle Club building, I've still gotta meet with Mr. Zelmer, and I'm still working on the theory of possibly, instead of demoing that building and tearing it down, is provide him some money and actually move in the building so they can update it themselves and get some use out of it. If we demo it, nobody gets anything, we still have to have a building, I think, for water and sewer electric service. He says he thinks he can move it to the top of the hill and get some use out of it. Just something to look at. I got to meet with him later this week. Looks like we got some banners in there for this next year. This year building improvements at $15,000. That's just maintenance more or less, and something we run into if we need some money. And we did put, for next year, the next budget, $250,000 to do something with the exterior of this building, upgrade it in some fashion, don't know exactly what yet. But thought that should, hopefully be adequate amount of money. That, again, that's a 5-year plan.
Okay, Kelsey, did you have anything to add about the banners? Those are in your department?
We usually rotate and get new banners more frequently, but with the upcoming ITEP grant project for improvements downtown, it's not advised to do that now because we're gonna be having different poles within just a few years, so we're planning that out farther.
Okay, and Dallas, do you want to add anything about the building here?
The reason we raised the building improvements an extra 5 for next year is we have a furnace that possibly we're on the last legs of, so we're trying to get as much use out of it as we can, but I expect it in the next 2 to 3 years, who knows what's gonna go out and need replaced. So we added an extra 5. We've got a quote of about 10,000, so we put an extra 5 in there in case we need it.
And the only other thing there I would add in the, we put 50,000 in there for the year after, this coming year, for timekeeping software system. Right now, everything is manual, paper, time cards, vacation requests, supervisors doing sheets, turning them in to payroll, and we're entering those in the system manually, so at some point in time, it'd be good to upgrade that and get a little bit of technology there. Is there any questions on that one? Okay, the next one is fire, again, he didn't come in. So we'll skip that one, see if he comes in later. If not, we'll go through it later. So Justin, you're up for police.
So for the police department, when we're looking at first line police vehicles, I'm putting, basically about 95,000. What I'm looking at doing is one squad car. We're trying to get 1 a year just to stay, with everything functioning, up to date, well working. And then I'm trying to see if I can get a used squad car or vehicle for my detective. Right now, my detective vehicle has 130,000+ miles. The car makes awful noises whenever you turn. It's not very well trustworthy. So was looking to go ahead and deadlining that at some point and possibly replacing his vehicle with something that's gonna, get him through. I hate to give him a hand down, squad car, because then we'll be in the same boat in a couple years. So we're gonna do something for him, be something, used vehicle with lower miles on it if we could. And then after that, for the, 5-year plan, basically 65,000 to 68,000 for new squad cars, yearly. And hopefully that would stay in tune with keeping a good rotation. Next line line would be fire range improvements, looking at 25,000 in that. Upon inspection of the overhang where we stand under and shoot towards targets, the posts are rotted off. One of them actually is now gone. There's several holes in the metal roofing, and I'm just afraid at some point there's gonna be a storm that'll come through to take that thing out. So look at hopefully 25,000 to do a new overhang for the range. Next line would be vests, $15,000. We don't need to replace everybody's vests. However, the majority of the department that is not new are gonna have to have new vests. They're good for 5 years. Last time I saw a grant and was approved, so again, was gonna seek the grant, this go around. However, totaling with everything, it should be around $15,000 if we don't get the grant, or if we have to pay and then we get reimbursed. After that, tasers in 2027, 28, I'm looking at replacing the department's tasers. 3 of the tasers that we have now, they do not sell, well, actually, 2 of them they don't make parts for anymore. And several others you can't buy. So if we're gonna buy something new, it's gotta be the most up-to-date current. I hate to replace just 1 or 2, as most of the tasers are functioning properly, but at some point, we need to switch over, probably do a subscription plan. Again, would look for grants, but at some point, we're gonna have to go ahead and upgrade the tasers, but that's down the road. I put in $7,000 for office computers. Again, just trying to stay our head above water, as far as the computers are concerned. $6,000 for in-car computers. Basically, we run license plates, do our job. That's our office in the squad cars. So when we buy a new squad car, we also need new computers. And I put in a little cushion for 28 and 29 at 7,000 because of technology always rises. Body cameras, 15,000. We're on a subscription plan with this as well. That encompasses in-car cameras and body cams. It's all cloud-based. So every time we buy a new squad car, we're upgrading our system, and we'll likely go to that new system as well. So the first 2 years, 15,000 should suffice, and then, of course, it'll steadily increase as the years go on. That's what I anticipate. Building improvements, $20,000 is put in for building improvements. Likely looking towards the exterior, cleaning, painting, things like that. Our license plate reading cameras, $12,000. That's a subscription plan that will basically start renewing next year. Not this coming budget, but next year. And I don't anticipate, as long as we stay with it. Right now, we pay $12,000 for that. Some of it came out of different funds, but that's the cost on those. The county-wide radio system, I know 100,000 was put in. I think that's between city and basically all city. It's fire included. So they're looking at possibly updating our system, new antennas, new portable radios, things like that. The sheriff's department, we did a drug seizure with them years ago. They're gonna use those funds for the majority of it, looking for grants, and I think they was asking for the city to contribute to help offset some of the costs. And that's all I have.
Justin, how are the squad cars right now? Can we get by, do we need more than one in 1 year?
Probably not at the moment. Just like he's asking for, the one for the detective we do, because the one he has is getting some age on it and miles. But like you said, continuing to get a new one every year like we had been, seems to be working, keeping them rotated out. Keep miles not so high on them.
Well, it's not only miles, but it's idle. I mean, it's only 80 miles, so while 100,000 miles doesn't look like a lot, you can get a nice new car for, or a nice used car for 100,000, 80,000, but with the big city miles, they're not getting above 30 miles an hour. You're going, police officers are driving them, so you're going to hop calls, lots of sharp corners, things like that, lots of the whole picture included.
Was this countywide radio system, that's what you were talking about at the last meeting? So was that $100,000, is that what they were asking from the city?
Yeah, I think we were Justin, we figured probably about 300,000 short. So what we were thinking is if we can ask the city for 100, ask the county for 100, and get 100 in grants, that will cover that. Because I think we were estimating at 1.1 million, and we have about 800,000. So if we can go 100 from city, 100 from county, and 100 in grants, that should cover it. In theory.
So would that be something that would be split from like all departments, like police and fire?
We could, or I mean, since it's, I don't know that it matters, it's all coming out of general fund, the radios, but we can split it between fire and police. I know that Darren is purchasing some radios
he came
now
in
to
easier.
cut down on some of his, that would have to be purchased at that time.
But they'll be
So-
compatible with the new
They're supposed to be,
system.
so maybe our piece hopefully won't be 100, but I don't know. Okay, if there's no other questions on that one, Darren, you wanna do fire?
Sure. Sorry, I was late on shift, so I had to take some of your leave. So, just kinda going down the list, portable radios, 9,000. That's just continuing replacing radios that are 15 or 20 years old that we're still using right now. Like I talked about before, like and I think John mentioned at the last council meeting, these radios will be compatible with the new radio project. We're gonna have to replace them regardless of whether we move forward with the radio project or not. We can't get batteries or anything for the ones that we have. So that's gonna be just an ongoing thing till we get them all replaced. And then the firefighter bunker gear for 20,000. I have put in for a grant and for this fiscal year for the small equipment grant from the fire marshal's office, for roughly 17,000. So I anticipate getting that grant, and then this would basically be that budgeted money. In the past, the grants have not been received or been able to be processed until the city's next fiscal year. I think Jane would agree with that. Usually it seems like it's May or June before we get the money and get everything ordered. So those are for helmets. All of our helmets are actually 3 years outdated, according to OSHA and the NFPA. So, if we don't get the grant, we're still gonna have to buy those helmets, which, like I said, is around $17,000 to replace all of our helmets. The mobile radios for 5,600. Again, that's radios that are just outdated that we have to replace in the actual fire apparatus themselves. This should be enough to replace 2 of them. I replaced one this year already. I'm getting ready to replace the second one. So just slowly kind of trying to get those replaced. The training ground, 6,500. We're working actively right now to get lights out there with last year's capital improvement. And we've got most of that stuff bought, and they're gonna start putting those up here still this year. And then, just keep moving forward with that project. And then 50,000 for the chief squad. The current chief squad that Assistant Chief Gardner's driving is a 2008, and Justin can kind of speak to how we're kind of limping that one along. For the most part, it's had some issues. And then I'm driving what used to be Chief Paddock's old squad, the 2013 Impala, which I think, unless something's changed, I think that's gonna go to the new detective and investigator potentially. One of them maybe, I'm not sure. But either way, it's not conducive to what I do. For the last 3 weeks when the weather was bad, I drove my personal truck every day because I couldn't drive my Impala, just wouldn't get around on the roads. We don't just drive in the city, we drive in the county because we cover north and south quite a ways for fire protection district. So, just trying to get that replaced, and then install a fire hydrant on the property. This is something that Brandon and I talked about, getting a hydrant on our property for
next big piece that you're gonna have to buy?
As far as apparatus? Well, I think that's really gonna be, probably, I guess, how the city wants me to go forward. There is a significant amount of used equipment that is out there as far as fire apparatus consistently for sale. The engine 1651 is the 1996 Towers apparatus. It is the oldest engine that we have. We have the 2012 that was bought as well as the 2017 Pierce. A new one, as you'll see in 27 and 28, is about 1.3 million. I can get the 96 refurbished for around 500,000. I'm not sure if Rusty presented that to you guys last year or not. That is an option. The problem with that is, one of the things that I'm trying to do going forward is increase our ISO rating so that it benefits the residents as well as business owners on their insurance. But part of ISO is the age of your fleet. So the 1991 brush truck that we have, the 98 aerial that we have, and the 96 Towers engine, even if we refurbished all of them, it would not increase our ISO rating because being refurbished doesn't affect that. So, I've kind of just always, if you will, wondered the used ads for used pieces of equipment just to try to bring up that age. And you can get some used fire engines that are still in good shape. Justin and I both kind of talked about them, both with the ladder truck as well as the engine. I think that would, in my opinion, Justin can speak to it a little bit, probably be the city's better route than maybe purchasing a new one, just since we do have the two new ones already. Because between those two trucks, in the next 5 years, you're looking at $3.3 million to replace them if you're replacing with new equipment. And I just don't know that that's a necessity, if you will. I feel like we can do with used stuff, potentially.
What does a used one go for?
It varies really. I mean, we had a,
Range?
I mean, anywhere from 200,000 to 800,000. We've seen ladder trucks as low as 850,000, with low miles on them and low engine hours, which is really what we would be looking at. I'm trying, Justin and I have been looking for the last year or so, to try to find a ladder that is under $1 million, because they are out there. You just gotta worry about the wear and tear and how much they get beat up by wherever you're buying them from. So it's just a matter of, that's kind of one of the things, you know, if the city would be willing or interested in giving Justin and I basically the freedom to maybe not put it in a capital improvement. Hey, you know, in August of this year or next year, we see a truck that is well worth the money that could be replace one of those two pieces of equipment, and then maybe pull that from reserves or do a budget adjustment at that time. Because I mean, they pop up and the good ones are gone pretty quick. And as soon as they pop up, they usually disappear.
So the ladder truck would come with a pump, so you wouldn't need a pumper with the,
Correct. What has been discussed in the past, I believe, and even presently, would be replacing the 1659, which is the aerial, and 1651, which is the oldest engine, with a ladder truck that has a pump and a tank on it, and then basically taking the 96 and moving it to what we would call a reserve engine, because you do get ISO points if you have a reserve engine, and it doesn't count against you, it only helps you. So that would kind of be what we'd be working towards, replacing two trucks with one, and then just keep
building problems, or have we gotten those all taken care of?
Actually, the Florida Fire Board has been doing a lot of the building stuff, helping with it. They've been, I think they spent a pretty good amount of money this year trying to insulate the building a little bit better because we had some issues with that. But for the most part, our building is in pretty good shape. The IMO guy was just there for the pre-OSHA inspection, if you will. He suggested a few things, which we've already got done, but for the most part, I think we're in good shape. The biggest thing is running out of space. I've been trying to find somewhere to expand and build a shed or some type, because we've got 2 trailers that are sitting outside right now, because we just don't have room. But we're kind of landlocked where we're at.
Questions?
Okay, thank you, next.
Project and equipment needs, at City Park. First project is, Musgrove Park parking lot expansion project. That's being done by Project Community. That should be done this spring. Next item, half-ton pickup. I'm asking for another half-ton pickup in next year's budget. We have one in this year's budget, and we haven't been able to get that, but we're looking at replacing 2 1998 pickups that we have in the department. Next item is, we'll be replacing 3 riding lawn mowers this year. We're on schedule to do that, I will say. Another project we're looking at is split rail fence replacement at City Park. This will be in the maintenance of drives and grounds line item in City Park budget. I know that's something the city manager and I have spoken about the last few years. And next project, we're gonna continue removing trees and grinding stumps. We've got approximately 40 ash trees to cut still, so. And that will be budgeted in the tree maintenance line item. We'll also be mulching all of our playgrounds this summer as well. And next one, landscape improvements. I wanna replace all the wood mulch in our landscaping with rock, so we don't have to replace it with, keep on replacing it with wood mulch every year. I think it'll pay for itself in just a few years. Next item, working with Ameren on interior lighting and dusted on lighting throughout the park system. There is an incentive for us to do that. I've got an appointment with them on, I believe, February the 12th, and we're gonna talk about, they're going to basically do an audit of our buildings, and they're gonna send that to Ameren. Ameren's gonna come back with, this is what your incentive is, this is how much it's going to cost. If they come back and say it's gonna cost us $10,000 to do this project, I'm probably gonna say we're not gonna do the project. It just depends. And I'll meet with Alan and we'll discuss all of that business whenever we have all the numbers. We'll make a good decision on whether we wanna go ahead with the project or not. So, something that's come up, it's worth looking into, in my opinion. In the recreation department, I'd like to replace the 4 3-tier benches at the tennis court this year. They're pretty rough shape, so I'd like to do that. And going to be meeting with a tennis court repair company here directly, and we're gonna talk about what we wanna do specifically with courts 4 through 6. I know there's money budgeted in the TIF department, if you will, or budget for that. I am working with a new contractor, so this is somebody, basically, the person that's been taking care of it for the last 4 years is not going to be doing it, so. At this time, that's my feeling. I've got a whole outfit out of Japan. They said they have done work here in the past. It's been a long time, but seems like they're pretty good. So I'll get with them, we'll talk about, what we wanna do there, if they've got some sort of system that the other person did not have, and we wanna cover a section of cord or cracks or whatever, and let it sit for 2 years and see how it does, you know, and then, if you're following me, instead of completely ripping out a cord and doing it, I'd like to, if there's a crack fix, I wanna do that instead.
So is everything stabilized down there pretty well with the pipe and everything? Feel good about much movement? Of the drainage?
I feel pretty good about it, yes. But that's kind of in limbo, I won't know anything until we meet and we talk about, you know, she takes a look and sees what we actually have and where we wanna go from there.
Is 4 and 6 the ones up on the ditch? Are they the
Yeah,
north
the
ones?
lower course.
Okay.
And we wanna do a little work on 1 through 3 at the baseline as well, beyond the baseline as well. But that's, I'm gonna consider that more minor work than the 4 through 6. That's all I have.
Does Tenants Association, they have helped in the past on repairs and repairs,
They have,
and we've also asked, like, the school system, since these returns, but they have not really, have they contributed then?
they did last time, whenever we did 1 through 3, yes, they did,
So that's an opportunity for maybe a little help.
possibly. Which the school's looking at completely revamping their whole athletic facility,
Right.
so, I mean,
Yeah, they probably will, probably not use the park if they get their wish. I've seldom seen the school system turned down, you know. They'll probably push through it. Okay.
Hey Frank, how much do you think you're gonna spend on that split rail fence replacement? Cause when Alan and I had talked, I thought he was wanting to take it out of TIF, so I have 100,000 in the TIF for that.
I saw that after this was all submitted and all that. Can we do it in phases? And
Probably
keep it out of
depends on what they
capital item?
say, right?
Excuse me?
Probably depends on what they say about how they'll proceed. The company doing the work.
No, the
She's
split
talking
rail
about
fence.
the split
Fence.
rail
Oh.
fence project. I would recommend doing it in phases and just running,
To your
we can
estates.
talk about it however,
Okay.
I guess however you wanna do it.
What,
It's just we
You
can
do
only do
it
so
yourself,
much.
Right?
Correct, we will be doing this ourselves and we
I
just
ha-
work it in,
I have a question about that split rail fence.
okay?
Some of it, I don't even understand the purpose of some of it.
I'm with you.
Okay. Like, some of it just is out there and it's not, to me, it's not holding anybody anywhere.
Not
Like,
functional.
it's not functional, except at Christmas time when we wrap up with lights and
Yeah.
it does look pretty, but I kind of don't understand the split rail fence. So I know there's been talk about doing some like new fencing and maybe a new, entryway out there. I get it, like where the cars park around the playground area. I get that section, but some of it I kind of don't even understand why it's even there.
That's kinda why I put it in the line item instead of a capital item. Cause you all may totally disagree with me, but I'm not a big fan of the split rail fence. I would rather just see posts or whatever.
I bet the guys weed eating are even less of a fan than you.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but,
I don't
I
really
mean,
like
I'm
it
just being
either. I
honest.
just don't understand, and some of it doesn't even make sense to me, so, I don't
That's
know,
That's something that we can discuss and
I've talked to Alan about it before, but Alan and I
It may just
didn't
be
agree on that.
historical, because when the pool was still at the park and the
Yes.
playground, there was a lot more kid traffic, I think, there.
True.
And it did help kind of corral kids from just running into the street, but that's really moved to Musgrove, a lot of the kids, don't you think? So certainly on the inner circle, I could still see it maybe.
By
on
the
east-
playground
on the east side of
area.
the playground, have some sort of at least barrier, and they can duck under it, but at least would keep them from just running pell-mell into the street. But really, from, you go to the playground up towards, Locust Street, why is that fence there? Yeah, so if it's just removed and we still retain it where it might be a safety issue, I could see looking at that.
Yeah, my thought was if we're gonna have it, let's have it looking decent.
I agree,
yeah,
I
I
agree with
totally
that
agree with
statement, I agree with that
Alright.
statement, but just to replace it, just to be replacing it, I think we need to, I think
Yeah.
a group needs to look to see if some of that is even needed, or if it could be replaced with something that looks maybe a little better than the split rail fence in
Yeah.
certain sections of it, and not put some of it back up, period.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this Christmas light
Yeah.
situation. If that does go away, that's gonna affect the looks of that for sure in those areas, but.
Well, maybe we can get creative and think of something
I
to
think we've-
replace it.
I think we've done pretty good on that Christmas light display, coming up with different ideas on how to improve.
Anything further? Fran?
Okay, so for the lakes, we don't have anything budgeted for this year, in capital. In a couple of years, Frank would like to work on the bathrooms at Bora Lake, but we're still working on quotes for that. And there's nothing for the band shelter this year for capital. Okay, so it takes us to street department. Tyler?
For the street department, some equipment for next year, we're still looking for a used 1-ton with a dump bed. We bought one last year, it's been really handy, and we'd like to purchase another one. Buy a new salt spreader, that is in this year's budget also, but if we don't get a truck, there's no need to buy a salt spreader for the moment. Looking for another half-ton pickup, there's one in this year's budget, and we currently have 2 pickups that are out of service. So equipment-wise, that should get us pretty decent. Project-wise, it would be nice to do a road project. Eastgate, Scott Street Storm Sewer, that would be done with city crews. We have an issue with the storm sewer out at Taylor Lakeside. The top is collapsed on us, it is plastic. I would be looking to contract some of that out. It's gonna be a patchwork, and I'm looking to contract it out because it is roughly 13 foot deep at least. We just don't have the cages and stuff to do that safely, and I'm not putting someone down that deep to do that, so we're looking, me and Mike were talking maybe 30,000 for that. Obviously finishes Main Street Storm Sewer, which is slated for July. The rate we're going, it may be a little longer, but we're working at it. What is it, like 2.5 million left after what we paid? That's gonna go over, promise. And then also we need to, looking seriously about repaving Main Street. We bid that January, February, so we need to be getting Mike started to engineer that, cause it's gonna be a lot of work, all the grants and stuff. So, that's something to be thinking about, that we need to get him approval to start getting. 26, 27, we're looking at possibly replacing a leak vac. Another used 1-ton, a half-ton pickup, cause the 2 that are out of service ain't the only 2 that I have bad. We have another, it's a 2000, and then that, what's 640? 2000 also, but the floorboards, you get wet when you drive it when it's raining. And looking at upgrading our stump grinder, we grind quite a few stumps. And then the project would be Main Street overlay. Me and Jane have been talking about that. 970,000 out of the general, and 4.3 million from the business district, which is roughly 5.8 million, which would include the curbs downtown that we talked about the last meeting, the island removal and repair. One of them would just have to be, we tried to make it smaller, and then one of them completely removed. That was some asphalt work each direction on like Fair and Walnut, some of that area, and then Northeast Street, going north off of Main Street, that concrete area. It's getting pretty rough. So, that 5.8 million
Are there ever used ones of those available? No, not often.
Frank bought the last one. Did you? I haven't seen any in any used magazines, but they're probably about like what we're trying to get rid of.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that was the situation, everything was kinda wore out. That's probably, yeah.
Just something to think about. That's gonna be a pretty decent sized purchase. We also, projects, we got, box culvert on West Mac, west of the highway. We got a wall that's cracked. We keep an eye on it. We keep patching it, trying to get it along until we have to patch it or fix it, but that's coming up. It's just west of the highway there.
Will it last that long?
Yeah, I think so. We'll do what we can to hold it together. But that thing needs to be widened too. It is extremely narrow. I'm really surprised we get away with what we got. But that's something we need to think about that's gonna cost some money. Then the Northeast Street and Scott Street storm sewer, to finish that project sometime to get some flooding issues out of that area where it floods there at Scott Street and runs down East Street. We've got 24-inch pipe running into some 18. We need to get it all down to the creek. Possibly another road project, and then maybe looking to upgrade our mini excavator. 28, 29. Haven't talked about this since last year, but a new dump truck. We've got a 98 that right now has got some injectors out of it. It's down, but we're gonna try to limp that along as long as we can. The guys really do like the new ones that we did got. They said make pushing snow a lot better. They actually had enough power to push snow instead of not have enough weight to get even around. We ought to be thinking about a used bucket truck somewhere. Things are getting taller and we're not able to reach some of our stuff. We're having to contract some of that stuff out. The Laurel Street storm sewer that runs in those backyards, we got sinkholes all the time. We need to see if we can get it moved out out on our easement. I don't even know that we have an easement where it runs right now. We just go back in there, try to patch the holes that we can patch. It's old clay tile. Some of them's plugged up. They go into 55-gallon drums at spots. We're gonna limp it along. Keep trying. And then in 2930, the Jonathan Street storm sewer, we need to possibly look at lining it. It's all concrete pipe. The joints are separated on. It's starting to create sinkholes quite a bit. We're trying to just fix them as we go, but we need to be thinking about that at some point. And then maybe another road project. Another thing to think about, so I've been told from the state that Route 130, 4-lane through town on Route 130 is projected to be paved June of 2026. They are working, I don't know if they've completely engineered it yet or not, but they have talked to Mike, they've sent some emails about the sidewalk going the rest of the way to Walmart. Mike's been waiting for me emails back to see what our portion would be. We don't know if they're gonna engineer it, say that it's 100% on you, if it's something 80-20, have absolutely no clue. But think
I
about
mean, they're supposed to, I mean, that's the way the law's written, correct, Mike?
They will include in the project.
Yeah.
How it's paid for, I'm not sure.
I think everywhere else it's been done, the state's paid for at least a majority of it.
Have they? I'm not, I know on smaller projects they have. It's like 80-20, something like that.
something to keep in the back of your mind that may be coming. We had them email in, but it takes forever to get anything back from the state.
Excellent.
I have some questions, since this is the last time I can ask about roads.
Ask away.
Hey, we talked about STU funds when we met. We kind of targeted North Street or Avenue. Do you know when that project would be? Are we out more than 5 years on that?
Let's say 27.
So it'd be 27. And then, so you budgeted 500,000 this year for road projects. We did that
Thank you.
last year and it got cut out, right?
I'll take
It
anything.
did, and it may again this year. It's going to see where we roll up with all the.
And I'm
other
gonna tell you the same thing
projects.
this year as last year, especially since I only have 3 months. This is the last time I can say it. I know we're doing Main Street and it's a big thing, but you know, we have some grants, we have the business district to do Main Street, but I still think we can't neglect some of these residential roads just because we're doing Main Street. So I would love to see us not take out one of the residential road projects, because there are a lot of them that need fixed. And more we kick that can down the road, more expensive it's going to be to fix them, and more they're just gonna pile up. So, you know, my thoughts are if we can.
One of the problems will be on Main Street, if we're using business district funds and it's gonna be done next summer, we're not gonna have enough business district funds to do that, so we're gonna have to borrow from the general fund.
But you still get paid back.
Yeah,
You can get
I
paid
understand
Well,
that.
but
I
it's-
just
So,
even
but you gotta
even
have
if
the
we
money
find
there to pay
back.
all
Like in
that
4
plus
years,
do
you get paid back
this.
the 5 million.
we
Oh,
can't
yeah.
we can't kick the residential roads down. We can't kick that can down any longer. So, and then Tyler, didn't we have something in the budget this year for what's that subdivision across from the middle school? Eastgate, to do all that. Did we do that? Are we doing that?
Just waiting to get some approval for the engineering part of it.
Okay.
Started.
So that's still
I would
gonna
like to
have
at least,
it.
even if we don't get it done, at least get the stuff bought. The only other thing is like MFT, most of it's just general maintenance. We've got trying to save a little bit of money because we do have a match for the STU project. And then the Nut Road project every other year. But the STU match, we're guessing is around 300,000 for that, so we're trying to keep some money back in the MFT fund for that.
Plus, the East Street Bridge comes out of MFT,
That's right.
and we don't know how much that's gonna cost for
I
sure.
put that on my notes, but yeah, it's in there too. Which we're hoping to get done sooner than later. We got till what, July?
Yes.
So we
What do we
can't
now?
seem to- we can't seem to get flagged.
They're gonna work with us on that though, I hope. It being done by July.
The money has to be obligated by, sometime in July. I think that has already happened.
So you think we're good
I
then,
don't wanna say 100%,
but it's your understanding. Questions? Roads?
Okay, Justin, you next.
So I didn't have anything for this current budget year.
What a superstar.
Huh?
Said what a superstar.
25, 26, I know it's supposed to be over 5,000, but I'm only looking for 3,500 for update scan tool equipment. What I have now only goes up to 2022, and with us getting new squad cars, 25, there's certain things that I cannot do, so that would be very helpful. For 26, 27, looking at a Miller school gun, which would allow me to weld and repair aluminum. Currently don't have a way to weld anything aluminum, so that would be a very good asset to have. 27, 28, we'd love to upgrade our pressure washer. One we have is starting to get quite a few hours on it and could be upgraded. 28, 29, air compressor. At the moment, yeah, I don't have any trouble with it. Just kinda keep putting that in there. It eventually will be replaced. And along with a pickup for 29, 30. I think ours is a 15, so it's still in really good shape, so just like to keep putting that towards the back. Everything else is really pretty good. You know, Roger did a really good job at getting it upgraded, so don't leave me with a lot to ask for.
Made your job easy.
Questions?
I have another question back to the street department, just a minute. So So John, we met one time too and decided that instead of doing some of these projects, we was gonna set money aside to
In that
do
separate
Boone.
bank account, yeah. Well,
So are you not wanting to do that, but you're
well,
wanting
no,
to take that
because,
money
well,
and
we
do these
originally
small
talked about
ones?
before Boone, we were gonna do Elliott there from Butler, is it Elliott, from Butler to
Talk about Butler to, Locust.
Locust? Because I think that was the cheapest, right? We were gonna, and then Boone, because Boone was gonna be really expensive.
Boone's not
Longer.
But are you
But
wanting
no,
to
I- sidewalks.
continue
No,
to
I-
do small projects
No,
while you're setting
I
money
mean,
aside, or how are you wanting to do
As long
that?
as we have a plan. You know, as
So I
long as
thought the
we,
plan was setting that money aside to do these bigger ones.
if that's the plan and we have 500,000 to set aside, that's fine.
Well,
We had
don't.
500,000
Right
set
now, we
set
have-
aside last year too, and it got axed.
well,
So
But you're not setting, I mean, the money that we set aside is what we do at the end of the year. I mean, right now, we have $387,000 in that road project.
well, that's
that
fine.
we've
We
set
put
money
500,000. Now I got 868,000. So we're 3/4 of the way there to getting Boone done.
aside. So you're not really wanting to do a road project this year. You just don't want it to get cut out of the budget.
I just don't
and
want
you
to get cut
it
out of the
get
budget
moved.
because we keep cutting it out of the budget. It's the roads aren't getting better. I mean, they're getting worse and worse. I mean, even some of the roads that used to be decent with all this bad weather and stuff we've had. I mean, they're getting bad.
I heard the next couple, once it warms up,
You know,
these potholes are gonna blow up.
I've said for 12. Like I said, I only got 3 months left, so I won't be around. But I've said for 12 years, we just need a plan. We can't, can't keep kicking the can down the road.
The big thing with Boone is Brandon's gotta move his water line with us. Elliot,
Then I'd have to move those-
Brandon's gotta
those
move the
other
water.
stuff. That's junk too. Nor Elliot, any of them.
Okay, Courtney, you're next.
Nothing left for this year that we haven't done is I have some pickups. If you look forward, I have one in there, just rolling for next year, and then I have one for every other year. Speeding forward, our newest truck is a 2013, has over 100,000 miles. Our other two are 07 and 08s. One has been a problem child, it's been in the shop a lot this year. Then looking ahead for next year, we are due for a carbon replacement in the spring in all 4 of our filters. That's something that's done every 5 years. And I also have in there a clarifier valve replacement. It has been down for over a year. Anything happens to that clarifier, we cannot isolate it. It's a big problem. We talked about having Brandon come in and hydrovac it. It's in a very tight area. I was able to get a quote from somebody. They can come in and do it. It's gonna be a very tight schedule whenever that comes down. We have to have it done in 24 hours. And I'm confident they could come in and do that with no issues. Then for 26 and 27, I have a new riding mower in there. We have two. One was purchased in 2023, but our other one's in 2016, so it'll be 10 years old. And I also have a spectrophotometer in there. That is our main piece of lab equipment we use. We have two right now that are working just fine. It's more just a contingency in case something happens to one of those. And I also have clarifier painting on there. We will have to have that valve replaced before we can do that. And then for 2027, 2028, getting that pickup. And then our tractor will be 30 years old at that point. Probably be looking for a replacement. 2028 to 2029. I'm sure this has been said for many years. Our water plant is 75 years old.
It's gone up quite a bit.
job, nice job.
I was gonna say,
I remember when that was 13.
I was gonna say it's gone up like 8 million, I think, since I got on the council. It was 10 million
We should have done it.
12 years ago.
Should have done it 12 years ago.
5 years later.
What are they,
Always be 5 years.
what are they telling us?
As far as, I mean, we're
EPA.
outdoing the plan. EPA will be there this year. They're gonna say the same thing. They're gonna say not to invest in our plant. We need to be looking forward.
So when do they lower the boom and say you've got to?
Whenever they red flag us and say we're no longer meeting their standards. And for 2029, 2030, another new pickup.
projects. We approved the railroad board for, 60,000. Didn't get done. See if we can move it on over. I think the city crews could do that. So it'd be a lot less than 60,000, I'm sure. Should be. And then, what is coming in? The east-north avenue from Whittle to East water main replacement for Tyler's Road project. And whatever we do on for next, whatever, if he does a road or something, like I say, need to change it out. Get water mains out of the roads. If not, I put down for Whittle, South Whittle, from Monroe to Brentwood for next year. And painting the water tower, Brentwood water tower for next year. And that year for Harmon, Ridgeway, and Esmeralda, Brentwood replacement. That'd have that subdivision done in that area. That's basically all I got.
So on that moving the water main there on North Street, did you guys do that yourself or did you contract that out?
We did contract.
You contract that out.
A lot of that anymore, you have to have a plumber to make taps. And then do tie-ins and all that stuff. We don't have nothing to do line stops with.
And you just move it away from the street into like the easement.
Get it in the easement,
in the
yeah,
side.
grass, yeah. If you have room, just depend, salt fiber and everything else in the right of ways. Have to get in there somehow. Cause like on North Street, if you have leaks, you have to take out the curb and everything, 'cause it's just right there.
Yeah.
Just depends which side the service lines are on, which side you're gonna dig on.
Okay, sewer department's next and should have a sheet where I replaced what was in the package at your table.
Yeah, there's one more to it, right?
Yes, I did.
Finish up 24, 25, I think the lining is done, I think they're grouting, I know they're still in town, I seen their truck this morning. 85,000 for SCADA from our lift stations to replace the phones, I just talked to them today, they'll be here next week. Should take a week to finish that, and then the replaced Main Street sewer line. Jane informed me that we haven't paid that yet, right?
No, we haven't paid all of it.
Okay. So 25, 26, I put 40,000 in for sewer line replacement. That's basically just in case something happens. Seems like every year we got some kind of line we're messing with. A building for caustic, 700,000. That's the building, all the equipment, the labor, EPA, is that just basically they said you need to go this route?
That's pretty much would meet the recommendations of EPA for, caustic and the coagulant that need to be, applied to zinc removal.
And then, hopefully it's OSHA approved by the time we're done with that. Sewer camera program, I got 35,500, and that is for a program for our camera, and that will, coincide with our GIS, so when we come back in, we can easily put that on a computer. That will help in our records, plus engineering in the future if they need something. 26 and 27, I have a filter building wet well pump and, no, sludge pump, sorry. We have 8 of those, and I just stick them in there as needed. We don't have any that's broke down right now. The filter building wet well pump, put in at the same time, I'm not sure on the age of them. But since I filled this out, we did have one, it's got, seal fail or something on it. We're gonna have to pull it, we don't know if it's bad or not, so, that may need to be moved to 25, 26. We don't know yet. The $2 million on the, ultraviolet, the replacement filter cells. That's basically in there for a reminder, I can still get parts. I had a guy call from Carmi the other day, he was looking for parts, and I told him we didn't really have any. But we can still get them, don't know for how long. 27, 28, I got 15,000 in for lab equipment. I don't have anything really specified, I just know whenever we have to replace some of that stuff, it's gonna cost us. And 40,000 for a sewer line replacement. 28, 29, I just put a 40,000 in for a pickup. Right now, all my trucks are decent shape. Not really too worried about that. Another sludge pump. Another, wet well pump, and that's, like I said, that's just a guess of how long they're gonna last. The next thing would be in 29 and 30 is $2 million for a screw press. We've discussed that before. Just however we wanna go about doing that. I don't know what year we wanna do it, but, my permit is up in 28 for sludge, so I'm sure it'll be some kind of change then.
Answer your questions there. The next one is library, they're asking for $7,000 each year for books, which is what we have gave them in the past. MFT, Tyler kind of already talked about that one. The Route 130 TIF, that one, we need a plan of how we're going to, what we're planning on spending our funds there for, because we have to report that on the annual TIF report each year. So even if we're not gonna spend them, we just need the plan there. But I do have 15,000 in there for the Route 130 sidewalk yet, because we will still be getting a final bill from there. 150,000 to redo the city park entrance, that's a carryover from what we had put in there this year. Rebuilding the tennis courts, there we're waiting to see what Frank decides when he meets with them. Put 25,000 in there for the OCC nurses building, which, I think Kim's had agreed there, and I think Bart's going to start working on a TIF agreement for that. The interior fencing in the city park is the split rail fencing that we discussed earlier. It may come out of here and go into Frank's budget over the years. Upgrading fairground property, we have 150 in there for that. Alan can explain that a little bit more. And then we also had city park fencing along Route 130. Mark had an estimate of 270,000 from that we talked about at another meeting. And then, in 26, 27, Alan also wanted to put in there to upgrade the parking on the inside of the park for 200,000.
The Fair Board said they need some more parking inside the park and maybe across from the community building and different places. And I just pulled that number. I don't have anything to base it on other than just $150,000 should get quite a bit of parking. So, but if we want to look at it, the money will be in the budget.
So they wanna upgrade the existing parking lot, or they want to add additional space?
They haven't said, at all, they just said, that, you know, they need more parking because, when they had events out there this past year, the grass was full, I mean, they parked everywhere. And I don't think we'll ever get to the point to where they won't have to park on the grass, but I think we can improve, in particular that across from the, community building. In that area, between there and the grandstand. But it just, look at it, I figured we need some money in the budget if we're gonna consider it and determine what we're gonna do.
And you also had some other fairground upgrades, right?
Right, the, demolition of some structures out there, improvements of the bathroom. It, needs upgrading pretty good. And we found out years ago that's not cheap, but, we might be able to do some of it ourselves. But since the money was there, it's available to use for the fair, it would probably be a good time to make it happen. It's not wasting it, it's upgrading. Now I know there's different thoughts about the fair. Those guys tell me they just don't have time to do some of the things that need to be done out there. Also, we need to put some lights along White Squirrel Drive there. They have the lights and the poles, but they don't have anybody to actually set them and run the wire. So I think that would be a good idea to light that up through there. But none of this will take place till the council looks at it. Gives us a go ahead to get some pricing.
So there are any questions about the Route 130 TIF? Okay, next one is the South Only TIF. So there, we paid off what, the TIF owed to the city this year, which was the $75,680. So we will start getting, this past year, we got $98,000 from the property tax receipts. We pay out around $30,000 for the TIF agreement we have there, which it goes up a little bit every year, but so do the receipts. So I put in here $300,000 in the year 27-28 to possibly do that industrial park utilities there by north of Pacific Cycle, and then possibly $600,000 in the year 29-30 to do the East Street Road from where Pacific Cycle concrete ends up to the entrance to that new industrial park. Unless you have something different you want to put in there. The business district one, there we have, I put $1 million in there for next year for the Walnut storm sewer. And I put $500,000 in there for the resurfacing Main Street so that Mike could start engineering that project. And then in 26-27, I have $2.8 million in there to resurface Main Street from Route 130 to Van. We added $600,000 at the last meeting for the curb replacements on Main Street and resurfacing Main Street from Van to Route 50 and removing the islands, about another $600,000. And then Tyler wanted to add $300,000 in there to redo the East Street intersection with the lights and stuff. If you have questions, you can ask him about that. So that gets that up to $4.3 million there. And then in 27-28, I have the revamping of the downtown, which is our portion of that grant. And then we have a grant out there we applied for to resurface those two municipal parking lots that we haven't heard back on yet, but our portion of that would be $355,000.
When do we expect to hear back on that? Do you know, when do we expect to hear back?
Parking lot. We should have already heard.
Yeah, we should have
but
already heard, yes.
They haven't yet.
Should have been around the 1st of October, I think.
Have they awarded any of them that we know of?
Okay, so
I think
that,
25 million, something like that statewide.
I don't remember much. Okay, so So that brings us to Morgan's and Mark's stuff, and then if any of the other council members have anything.
A lot of my stuff has already been talked about, so mine will be quick. I just had the radio system that we've already talked about this evening. The Main Street and downtown, which I just think are important, cause we really don't know what the end costs are gonna be for those. So I think we need to be careful on that business district money until those are further along. Sludge removal, I think we need to, I know that we now have a temporary solution for that, but I think we need to keep focusing on the end solution, which is not just dumping it on the ground. So I think we talked about that already. I just think we need to keep pursuing a permanent solution for that. I know there has been talk about adding another restroom facility by the pickleball courts. So I do think that's needed out there at some point. I know there was a group that maybe was talking about raising the money, but I think that is something that still needs to be talked about. Then water plant, we saw the price tag on that, so we need to keep our eye on that. We've talked about in the past trying to come up with some incentives to attract young professionals here. Nothing has really been pursued on that, but I think that's something when eventually we will be down to one dentist, no veterinarians, and 2 lawyers, 3. So, tourism dollars is really the area that we have money to spend that isn't already committed. So, since I have been on the council, there has been talk about the East Fork Lake property. I have said from the very beginning that I don't know why we would want somebody else doing that when the city could use their tourism dollars to develop that piece of land out there. So I think if that's something that we as a council think is important, then I think we need to pursue that or start talking about it anyway. Something else that has been talked about with Project Community, and I thought it was a good idea, is one of the girls on the committee went to a miniature golf course that had like a little putt-putt golf course that was not manned by a person. It was swipe your card, drop your balls and your equipment, and then you turn it in. I have no idea how much that would cost, but I think that would be something, or if there's even space for it in one of the parks. But anyway, that was an idea that I had for tourism that would be money that could be used for tourism that would affect the entire community. And we've already talked about the TIF, and I am in agreement that inside track area around the old ball diamonds, I would like money to be used to clean that up, because I think the rest of that area is looking really good, and that area looks not great. And it seems to me, just by driving by, there's a lot of buildings out there, or whatever they were used for I guess for the ball diamonds, that they could just dugouts, yeah, that they could just be eliminated. I don't know, because some of them are falling down and not in great shape. So anyway, that's where I'm at with that.
I handed out some stuff. You've got a packet there. I do think we need to investigate, as we're doing the Main Street project, of going back a block or so on each one of those downtown streets, because it's going to be more efficient and save us time. Is that correct, Mr. Bridges? And it'll just make it look nicer as we're going down through there, and we won't have difference between the new and the old won't be quite as much, and especially right up there on Main Street. One of the other things that I think we could do, and it'd be fairly easy, and I don't know if you've got a rough cost for this or not, but I think we really need a turn lane on Van going north, or on Main, north to Van, cause it gets backed up in the mornings. And it's almost wide enough to do anyway. That turn lane kinda comes to an end right there at Van, so it doesn't go all the way through. And we've got about enough room to do it now.
You have to widen it, go a little bit further.
Just a little bit further, but it's not too much. I mean, I think you're talking about yards that you would have to be widened,
Probably.
so. But I think that would just, if we're gonna do the project, and we're gonna spend the money, we might as well do that. I agree, we need to do some things out at the park. I think we've got the money to do it. We should continue to do that. As downtown goes, equipment procurement, I do think, I want us to look into the idea of buying some old IDOT snow plows. We can get them fairly cheaply. I spoke with the mayor of Mount Carmel. If we talk to the right folks in CMS up in Springfield, I think we can find some fairly cheap IDOT trucks with plows and salt spreaders on them that we can utilize for, my understanding, Mount Carmel bought them in the $4,000 to $7,000 range. And if we can have those for a few years, it's worth it for $7,000. So I would think that's something that we should kind of look into to kind of help pad our snow removal, because let's face it, every year is not going to be like this, but if we can do something cheap, I think that works out. We had talked about the downtown facade grants at our last meeting. I want to go ahead and get that up and running as Loves gets their gaming machines. I want to revisit the utility abatement program. And as we think about downtown, I really want us to think about the way that's going to look, not just during the day, but also at night. So we can make it more inviting, and we can continue to make that a destination for not just shoppers, but the businesses that are going to draw them in. I think that's all I have. Questions, comments, anything else?
I got a few 2 cents in here. Brentwood Water Tower is, between Whittle and East Street, that's the Brentwood Tower,
On 50.
along 50? Yeah, cause I mean, it's getting a little rough, but, certainly the script is looking really rough. It looks like somebody hand painted it.
The what?
The script, only script,
Oh,
said only, you know,
yeah,
someone, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, Festivals had a mural on it back in the Centennial, and was it David Allen who painted that? We had a local artist. It looks like maybe somebody hoisted David up there. He kind of freehanded, but if you get the funding to paint the water tower, that'll be taken care of at that time. Okay. Tyler, you're talking about, you know, we're gonna have pothole seasons just about upon us when all this thaws out. And I just always galls me when I come along and see Dave out there just with some hot patch out the back of a pickup, and it just doesn't, you know, it just doesn't hold. And I know they make, there's actually dedicated equipment that comes in, bores the hole, undercuts it, comes in, you know, you treat, there's a system out there, and I don't know if you ever looked into that. I know it could be, I don't know, $100,000 to $200,000, but we talked about kicking the can down the road, and obviously I had this, Councilman McLaughlin, that we're looking at not doing, the road was, Main Street was kicked down the road for years upon years upon years, and that's the whole purpose of the business district tax. We're addressing Main Street, that's gotta be the priority. I agree, the neighborhoods need it too, but Main Street's been kicked down the road probably for 20 years. So that's, you know, we are obligated, and that's a main thoroughfare. But if we are then, because of not having the funding to do residential streets, maybe for a few years, then we're gonna have to rely more on patching what we have. And I think you know, I've not really talked to you, Tyler, I've talked to Dave at length sometimes. It's like, this is just how we've been doing it, so it's all we can do, but I think we could probably do better with some better equipment and some training or something, and, cause I know there's a way that you can patch so that it'll hold for a while, you
I've
know?
looked into it. I am getting a different patch. We like this patch a little better, but that's more oil in it.
Yeah.
It's more expensive. And I've looked into a spray patcher.
Mhm.
Our biggest thing is you gotta have an oil tank. And it's not cheap. You're looking, so you get that and a machine, everything, you're over $250,000. Cause you
But
gotta have
if
an
you look
insulated
at,
tank. I've even talked with Olney Township a little bit. Like, hey, can we do something together? But it's getting the oil, keeping it somewhere. It's gotta be heated, it's gotta be stirred. Mount Carmel's stabilization, they fill up their distributors, you know, before the oil plants shut down. And they keep them in their shop and keep them stirred, and they'll go around and fill up people's Durapatchers, but a few oil distributors just doesn't go very far. So you about have to have a tank somewhere, but then you gotta have containment, it's not just put a tank out and fill it up with oil, it's gotta be heated, it's gotta be.
Yeah.
I've talked to Bowling Township, cause we both like one,
Have you spoken with anybody at the county?
have not.
I
So-
think they're probably, we might talk to the new county board chairman. I think he might have some interest in working with us on some things.
If we're gonna be patching more roads, we need to probably do it as efficiently as we can. I mean, yeah, I know you're there, but it means putting some money, $250,000, but if we can delay a $500,000 road for a few more years to, you know, you do 5 or 6 road delays because you patch them adequately, I mean, that, it might be justifiable. Just throwing that out there. I don't know if, tourism money could be used this for not, but, I think it would behoove us to have an EV charging station. We talked about maybe putting one right out here in front, or using one of these spots right here on this parking lot. You know, I know EVs have kind of been pushed back off the table, cause there was this big push, we're gonna be off of gas by 2035 and all that, which is being pushed back, but EVs are coming. And I know that, some people, if they could travel to only, they may be concerned about not being able to get back home, but if we say, oh, we have a charging station, cause there's nothing really dedicated. There's not even one in Vincennes. There is one in Vincennes. They're just off of Main Street. But then
Yeah.
you're looking
There's
at
the
Terre Haute,
Eagleton's
and
has one though that people can use.
It does, but it's not 24/7, is it? I mean, it's not something you
Probably
just wheel up
not,
to.
but
So
What
you know,
happened, we talked about that when we
we
redid
did.
this
We
parking
did this
lot.
parking lot.
What-
We thought we might
Yeah.
put one up here, and even if it were not, it wouldn't be a supercharger, but it would be a 220 volter. It would probably get somebody, maybe if they were concerned about coming to Olney or not, it might. Plus, it would look like we're trying to stay up with the times. And I don't know if tourism money could be applied to that, but that's where we do have at least we have a little in the black in that. I think it would be a behoove us to have an EV charge station. And then, I'm always looking at our trees, you know, we've lost hundreds of trees in the last year. You know, ashes, not even counting that, but just people, just, you drive down the street, and I just stay in my own northeast corner of town and I see this tree after tree coming down. And we wonder why now the white squirrel gray to white ratio is about 13-1. And I was looking back, I was reading some 1978 papers, it was 4-1. I thought that was a little high, but definitely there were more white squirrels. And if I was counting squirrels for 25 years, it comes down to where there are nut trees, there are squirrels. And if we want to maintain our logo as home of the white squirrels, we should try to. I know we tried, gosh, this has been 20 years ago, but we had some rootstock and we put it out the water plant, but that didn't seem to take. I don't know what happened there. Even if we could put aside some money to that, if a coupon or something that a citizen, that they would plant a nut tree on their property, that we would give them the tree if they'll plant it. I know, because a lot of say, well, I'd plant a tree, but gosh, the tree's $75 and they won't do it. But if they could have a tree given to them, and you promote it something like, yay, on your child's birthday, plant a tree, you know, that way it gives them some ownership. If we're gonna do something with our urban forest, it looks like the city itself is gonna have to be more contributing in that respect. The nursery didn't really work, but if we could set aside some money for a certain number of trees, and, you know, first 50 people who want a tree, you know, we set aside $2,500 to buy them a tree, a nut tree, not just a dogwood, but, you know, a walnut or an oak or a pecan or some tree that might benefit the white squirrels. That's all I have.
I will say briefly, you mentioned about recruiting. RCDC is currently in the process of looking for some system, some company, some way to help start recruiting folks to town. Whether that be veterinarians, which we do have now, or dentists, or lawyers, which we will soon have fewer of than we do today. So, from what we found so far, Shelley, it seems to be like not a whole lot of rural communities do this. So there's not a lot of good systems to look for, places to figure that out. But I think it is a top priority for us, probably.
What would the incentive be? I mean, just an actually dollar amount, or provide them with facilities,
That's a
rent-free?
That's
I
a
mean, what would
good
that be?
question that we don't, I mean, I think that's the question, is how do you do it?
How do
But
you do it?
we are we're in
As a-
sore shape.
as a person who might have some input on this, I think Richland County CEO
Yeah, is a
is the
good start.
absolute best thing. You're not gonna get someone that's not already from here. You've gotta convince people who are from
Stay
here
here.
why they need to come back.
I mean, there has been people come here though. I mean, Pat
Pat
Burke
Burke.
had no type, right?
Yeah, Pat
Pat.
Burke.
Yeah.
Pat
Who-
Burke, yeah, that's
gone.
right, Pat
Yeah,
Burke.
Pat Burke.
Yeah.
I mean, but we do get doctors,
Who's
do we
come
not?
and gone.
Very
I mean, we
briefly.
just cannot
Very,
believe that
very
we
briefly.
just have nothing to offer here.
Oh yeah, I mean, we get doctors who then stay for a while and they leave. Yeah.
But you're right,
But
Mark.
it's
The
sort of
biggest
like-
incentive is having family here. And that would be the
It
top-
is.
biggest
I mean,
incentive.
it
We
is.
have one
The
doctor
bottom
coming
line, but-
because of that. We have two OB/GYN doctors coming soon from away from here. Hopefully they'll stay.
I mean,
for a
I'm
while.
not saying we shouldn't try to get people here.
I
that
do
aren't
agree
from
that
here,
that
but I
is the
think-
easiest thing to do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
CEO.
We got this guy right
We
here.
got me.
This guy.
I came back.
It's gonna be
We
real
send out
hard
our young
sell to
people
the
to
That came
public.
back, yeah.
Exactly,
Recruiting
a mating program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be a hard sell.
Well, if we can do that, we can make it work with our white squirrels too.
Hey, I would, just real quick, thank you guys for putting up with me for the last 12 years. So, I know I haven't always been the easiest to put up with, but since this is my last budget meeting, I only have 3 months from today left, not like I'm counting my days down. It's been fun. Thank you guys for all your work. So.
Anything further? Any further business to be had? I would accept a motion